Winston's thoughts and emotions. Again, you're kind of vague there. You guys, you see how vague that is? For perhaps 2 seconds, he was back in the half-forgotten world of his childhood. Then a door. Look how big that quote is. Way too long, right? Way too long. Emphasizes the temporarily and sensorily. Let's just go with one of those. What about sensorily? You get what that means? That means the senses are dislocated. Like, because synesthesia, guys, is about a mixing of senses. So there's smell, and then there's sight, and sound. So because if you mix those things up, then the person feels dislocated. So his senses, like what he's smelling is almost like what he's hearing. It's like, well, that's a weird experience. So he's a bit dislocated. He's not stable. So it emphasizes the sensorily dislocated experience, torn between a fragmented past and a disjointed present. Yes, but of who? Of Winston? Okay, let's just make this a bit simpler. Okay, so then a doorbell. The nostalgic undertone plays into this. So why don't we use that at the front? So characterized, or this is a time, by the way, I think it was Oscar who might have said it before, but we can say reinforced here because we're talking about how the macro reinforces the micro in the same sentence. So reinforced by the nostalgic undertone. You haven't used that yet, have you? See that? Now that's your link. You don't need the contextual thing. So don't always do the context, but you want to make sure you do it once or twice in each paragraph. Yeah. If you're not doing context, you're doing form. You've got to have at least one of each. Reinforced by the nostalgic undertone of the novel, Orwell uses low modality. Now you've done 2 techniques kind of bundled together. Does everyone see that? Who's watching? Orwell uses low modality and synesthesia. So ideally, we don't want to do the end there. He uses low modality in depicting, reinforced by that, the low modality of the synesthesia, right? Which is like a blend, right? Why don't we say Winston's low modal? See how I'm changing modality to modal? Winston's low modal experience of synesthesia. What about that? As after smelling real coffee, comma, for perhaps 2 seconds, he was back in the half-forgotten world of his childhood. Then you need the then a door banged, seeming to cut off the smell as abruptly as though it had been a sound. Tricky to get that in shorter terms, isn't it? Because you need almost all of that. Yeah, you might need all of that for that one because it's the perhaps all the way through to sound. Emphasizes his sensorily dislocated perception, or what do we say? Perception. His sensorily dislocated perception, torn between a fragmented past and a disjointed present. Okay, cool. So in the context of struggle, that's him struggling to just know that the general point here is that he is struggling to retain a sense of psychological stability. Do you see that? That's the overall struggle you're exploring there. So just so you know how that pieces together with other things.